Hello and welcome to the Ilene Silverman Show. I'm your host Ilene, and on this week's program, our guests from the Friends of the Marjorie Kinnan Farm share plans for the upcoming 75th anniversary celebration of the movie The Yearling, with special guest Claude Jarman Jr. sharing his memories of filming the movie in Florida. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us for our program. I'm delighted to introduce my guest, Barbara Wingo, president of the Friends of the Marjorie Kinnan Farm. And Barbara, it's wonderful to have you join the show. You've been on our program in the past, and I always benefit and learn from the information you bring to our program, and you're a longtime friend, and I value that friendship.
Ilene, it is such a privilege to be on your program and to discuss the Friends of the Marjorie Kinnan Farm, as well as our upcoming program.
Oh yes, you've got something big on the horizon because it's the 75th anniversary of the premiere of the movie The Yearling, based on the classic novel of the same name by Rawlings. But before we jump into that, step back, tell us a little more about the Friends organization.
The Friends organization is a citizen support organization for the Marjorie Kinnan Historic State Park in Cross Creek, which celebrates Rawlings'
history
and her writing of her major novels, which were written at that location. Citizen support organizations support specific state parks in terms of donations of money, supplies, and volunteer activities. So we are one of many, but we are focused on that particular state park.
Right, and sometimes I forget, this is good knowledge, I just say Marjorie Kinnan Rawlings home, Cross Creek, and I fail to equate state park, so good knowledge. And I know many members of your organization, and I know how devoted they are to keeping the sense of her presence ongoing and alive, so to speak, which is a very valuable in sense of history, and the fact that you, through this Friends organization, are able to bring us a very significant event, a celebration. As you have said, Barbara, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. What's going to be happening?
Well, I'm very pleased to announce that, as you mentioned, the Yearling movie premiered in December of 1946, so 75 years ago, and we are going to have a program that celebrates that premiere. It will be a program that will include a showing of the movie at the Marion Theater in Ocala. And the Marion Theater in Ocala is a great location for this because it is actually a film house that was built in the 1940s.
Oh, so it's perfect atmosphere.
And so it's a perfect atmosphere to show on the big screen this particular movie in all of its technicolor delight.
Yeah. Which they won awards, yeah.
Following the movie, we will have an on-site, on-stage interview with Claude Jarman Jr. Now, Claude Jarman Jr. played Jody in the movie. Now, if you'll remember, basically the story was of a family living in post-Civil War Florida, the Florida scrub, and Jody was the youngster in that family, and it is about his coming of age during that particular time. It had to do with the fawn. Right. I don't want to give away the whole story.
I know.
But
even though it's a classic and probably a lot of viewers have read it, but still, right. We don't want to share all of it.
But Claude Jarman Jr. played this part that he will even say was a major part because he's
Oh.
practically in every scene.
Yes.
And it is all revolved around him and how he grew up through the love of this fawn and the need perhaps for him to sacrifice what he loved in order to maintain his family.
Right.
Hard
Hard choices.
Very, very hard choices, which is one reason why we should point out that the Yearling novel is truly a classic.
Yes.
It has not gone out of print. It is a classic American novel.
Studied in schools, discussed in book clubs, and still those themes, those issues, as we will see throughout this conversations we're having, is relevant today. And that is one reason everyone can find something to relate to in the book, in the novel, in the movie.
And in the movie is correct because the movie itself is a classic and still shown quite extensively all over this country.
Right.
So we're very lucky to be showing the movie, but after the movie is over, Claude Jarman himself will be interviewed on stage by
this is
one of
great.
our board members, Donna Green-Townsend, who you will meet later on this program.
Right. And we are just about to take a quick break, Barbara, and introduce Donna, and then still come back and chat with you. And so, hey, so we're ready to hear more, and I thank you.
You're welcome.
Stay with us. We'll be right back. We're back talking about the Yearling and Marjorie Kinnan Rawlings, and I'm pleased to introduce Donna Green-Townsend, member of the Friends of the Marjorie Kinnan Rawlings Farm. And it's wonderful to have you join us. And Donna, we also go way back in time.
Oh, we do. We do.
Back to years together on public TV. But of course, here you are, a documentary filmmaker who has spent many years bringing to life people and places of our whole area of North Central Florida. And I congratulate you on that.
Well, thanks. It was working on a story, actually, about Cross Creek that led me to move there. And I've been there since
Changed your life?
1984. It
Yes.
changed my life.
But your husband has connection to that area also?
He did. For those who've read Marjorie's book, Cross Creek, Chapter 4 is called The Pound Party, and that was my husband's father and his 10 other sisters and brothers that invited Marjorie to a pound party that you may be familiar with. And when I moved there, I just wanted to live it and enjoy the
Immerse
experience.
yourself.
And I blame Barbara Wingo for saying, why don't you do a presentation about Cross Creek? And it just kind of opened up this whole opportunity to work on a documentary I did last year
Right.
called Life and Times in Cross Creek. And I've just recently updated it to include a segment on Claude Jarman.
Right.
Because we are in this special time of this anniversary of the Yearling. Who
Right.
knew? It was 75 years
I
ago
know.
this
and,
year.
And this has all come together full circle.
It was meant to be.
And yes, it was meant to be. And this movie, now, of course, Gregory Peck, one of my idols, and who doesn't love Gregory Peck?
Right.
Jane Wyman, Claude Jarman Jr. Claude Jarman Jr. plays the little boy Jody, and he will be the one coming here as part of the showing of the movie The Yearling. So
Only 10 years old when
He got this.
was picked to be in the movie. 19,000 boys had sent in their pictures or had tried out for this movie, but Clarence Brown, the director, went into a school because he thought that was maybe a better way to find who he was looking for,
Right.
and he saw Claude Jarman in Nashville, Tennessee in his school, 10 years old. He said, I found
That's
my
the
Jody. And he does look so much like the pictures in the book that
He does.
N.C. Wyeth did for the book, The Yearling. He just looks just like him.
And you can, yes, when they're side by side, it's uncanny. But of course, it definitely changed his life. And you had the opportunity, and we are the beneficiaries of this, your Zoom interview with Claude Jarman Jr., which we're going to talk about too. But kind of tell me, what does this film mean to this area of Marion County? First of all, I mean, there's just, as we said, it was
Right.
meant to be. There's little connections everywhere.
I was talking to a lady who lived in McIntosh, and she's now on our board because she has such a great history and can contribute so much to our board. But she had a brother-in-law who caught the deer that they used in the movie along with another relative. And I thought that was fascinating. And the more I got to know her, she introduced me to so many people who had parts in working on the set, building the roads, building the cabin, providing the fawns.
All that it took, the
It is
years that went into
amazing.
making this movie.
Yeah, their first attempt was in, 1941, and it was disbanded because Spencer Tracy didn't really enjoy being here and the
Right.
bugs and the heat. But after the war, in 1945, MGM came back with a different crew: Gregory Peck, Jane Wyman, and Claude
Started
Jarman
over.
Jr. And they were here, especially from like around April through August or September, to do the heart of the movie in East Marion County, out in the big scrub. And it employed so many people from East Marion
was significant.
County. And some of them are still alive that I interviewed for the new documentary I'm working on the
Right.
making of the movie, which we hope will show in its entirety sometime maybe next year or so.
But what a great, it's like
Fascinating.
when you have that opportunity for people's memories, you have to get it when you can.
You better,
Okay,
yeah.
speaking of memories, there's this book also, My Life and the Final Days of Hollywood.
Yes.
Right, which Claude Jarman Jr. has written, which is part of the whole reminisce and what he'll be talking about.
It has a big
Yes.
segment on the making of the movie, and it really, he said, if it hadn't been for Marjorie Rawlings writing the Yearling, he probably would just still be living in Nashville, Tennessee. But as it was, he ended up in some really great movies besides the Yearling too,
Yes,
Intruder
yes.
in the
And
Dust,
of course,
and so
That
forth.
was a life-changing event.
Yes, it was.
Yes, and we have much more to talk about. We're going to take another quick break. Stay with us. We'll be right back. We're back talking with Donna Green-Townsend about the movie The Yearling, the book, Marjorie Kinnan Rawlings, and all the people that you have come across that are associated with the making
Right,
of this
the
movie.
making of the movie. It's turned into its
75
own
years
little
back
thing.
plus.
Exactly. It's hard to believe. I didn't believe it myself. But in working on the making of this movie, I met Bobby Randall from East Marion County, who knew that he played the double
Right.
to Jody. And we're hoping that he'll be at this event. He hasn't seen Claude
Oh my
in
gosh, can you
75
believe
years.
it?
And
Right.
he remembered so much about the running scenes that he had to do with the fawn. And, sometimes you can't tell when it's Claude and when it's Bobby. But
That means it was good.
It was amazing how he got picked for that. There were
Yes.
so many others. The Kinsey brothers did a lot of work on the film. One of the Kinsey boys, and there were 7 boys in the Kinsey
so
family, one of them was the double for Gregory Peck.
Oh, now
Yeah.
that would be
Now-
something to be proud of
It
your
is.
whole lifetime.
Now he's not still alive, but I do have some video of him him talking. But his brother Lawrence Kinsey, who's like 95, he rode on top of the cage where the bear was in the cage
Oh,
they
the
brought
bear
from
hunt.
the train depot over to the set. And there's going to be a lot you'll hear about the bear scene in
I know
the
that-
Yearling.
that's- yeah.
That's pretty ferocious,
significant.
and amazing. Claude remembers that too, and you couldn't make the scenes they made for the bear hunt the way they did back then. It's a
No,
lot different
no.
now. But when we called up Claude to talk to him about the movie, he just couldn't wait to come. He just
I could
really wanted to
see
come and talk
the
about
enthusiasm and the chance to be back to, as he says, his life-changing event. And during the Zoom interview, which I so enjoyed, Donna, and his blue eyes just were those blue eyes that were significant to the whole reason he was chosen. And his
Yeah.
blue eyes, he was just sparkling. And of course his stories of Hollywood and the old
Oh my
MGM
gosh.
and the Hollywood system back then, and
Right,
it
with-
still enthralls us. And the Oscars, he
That's
won an
right.
award, a
His
special
first-
category.
His first acting role, amazing. 10 years old, and then he wins for a special child
Right.
actor award.
Exactly.
And I think the movie also won for art direction and best cinematography, but it nominated for 7 Academy Awards.
That
which
was major.
That is amazing.
It had stiff competition, and at that
Yes,
year.
it did.
But it's still just I think that those stories always capture our imaginations, and those times are not the same. TV came along, life
Yeah,
changed.
the end of MGM days, pretty much
Right.
after he was
but
there.
but we still want to see those movies, those classics, and this is such a great opportunity. And to have Claude Jarman Jr. right there to talk with the audience as you interview him
At the Marion Theater, I cannot wait. As a matter of fact, I think we're planning to do it similar to what Gregory Peck did near the end of his life.
We spoke of
where
that.
he would be on stage and just talk to the audience.
He came here to the Phillips Center for
Right.
the
You
Performing
were there
Arts.
for
I
that,
was
I
there
think.
with my family. I met Gregory Peck. It was a splendid opportunity.
lucky.
Conversations. I feel so thank you. Conversations with, in this case, Claude Jarman Jr. following the movie. And this is going to take place Sunday, December 12th.
That's right, December
Yes.
12th, and we really hope people will take an opportunity to come to this. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity because he's in his upper 80s, so it's not, we're going to see him, every year.
No, this is the
This
chance.
is it.
And Don, I know we still have a little bit of time, but we're going to run out of time because you've invested so much of yourself in all these projects. I mean, walking the whole Yearling
Oh, gosh.
trail, so to speak. Just tell us a little bit.
Anyone could go. It's as a matter of fact, Richard Mills, who was one of the persons who worked on the 1941 first effort, he went into the Forestry Service later, and he helped to mark the Yearling Trail where Calvin Long lived, who had a brother who had the deer that inspired Marjorie to write the Yearling. So it's based on a real story in this Florida scrub. And so I went to Silver Glen Springs, Juniper Springs, and the Ocala National Forest and walked there are signs for the Yearling Trail. I recommend that people do that. And usually in March, we try to offer the Friends of
That
the
through
Farm
the Friends group?
that walking the Yearling Trail. So watch for that because that is definitely worth it. So there's a lot of video I took that I'm going to incorporate into my documentary on that.
Donna, we look forward to that. To your interview with Claude Jarman Jr. following the showing of the movie The Yearling, December 12th. And I want to thank you for bringing such important information to our show. And we're going to take another quick break and have another conversation with Barbara. Stay with us. We'll be right back. We're back talking with Barbara Wingo. And Barbara, give us the details of this one-time only event.
First of all, we will have a one-time only showing of the movie The Yearling, and then it will be followed by Claude Jarman Jr. interview with Donna.
Great.
The date of the event is December 12th, Sunday, December 12th. The movie will begin at 1:30. However, the doors will open at 12:30.
Okay.
And then after the movie, we will have the interview. Now, come early because then you can also buy Mr. Jarman's book. And he will be available for signing that book after
Excellent.
his interview.
After the interview. Excellent. Oh, the conversation will flow because I know many of the people that Donna mentioned earlier will be sitting in those seats or relatives of those people with so many memories of the making of the Yearling. And I have to congratulate, first of all, the Friends organization for pulling this all together, seeing the threads and tying it into a bow that is untied on Sunday, December 12th. It's outstanding and a benefit to your organization.
I very much appreciate that vote of confidence, shall we say, because it hasn't necessarily always been easy, but this will be a wonderful event, and the venue is just so perfect for the event that I'm looking forward to it very much
Right,
myself.
just to be in that, as we said, atmosphere, just to soak that up. You will feel a part of things. And tell us a little bit more about the Friends of the Marjorie Kinnan Farm. You started, but a little more about what you do.
Yes, well, and just to mention, all the proceeds from this event will go to the support of our group,
Excellent.
which supports the farm, the park, and just a few things that we've done. We have bought new citrus trees. We replenish the ducks and the chickens that are on the farm. We buy cleaning supplies and other fans that replace the old fans in the
Right.
farmhouse. So all these incidental things or not so incidental things that maybe the state can't afford to do.
Right.
Plus we do provide volunteer services for the farm. We are also hoping that eventually that we will build a visitor center that will highlight two important things about this park. First, Marjorie Kinnan Rawlings, and women writers in the state of Florida, such as Zora Neale Hurston would be
right,
another
yes.
person that we could highlight because there's no specific state park that deals
Dedicated
with
to
her.
that. Right.
And then secondly, the citrus industry. This was a major industry, not to say maybe the most important
Right.
industry in Florida's history, and yet there is no place that really tells that whole
That story.
And of course, Marjorie and her husband came to Florida in 1928 to be citrus farmers in order to support their writing. Well, they found out being a citrus farmer was not that easy.
Right.
But
Even today.
yet it is part of the story that, in fact, that was a citrus farm that she ran for all the years that she lived there.
Right. I mean, it's living history, and we talked about things being relevant, and also that you welcome new members to your organization.
Absolutely. Please come to our website, marjoriekinnanrawlings.org, and it has information about how you can join our
Right.
organization.
Great newsletters.
Our newsletters,
Yes.
which are very popular, and how you can donate, because we'll take any donations as well as memberships. But I encourage people to become members because then they continue on with the interesting events that we have.
Right,
We
which you have
always-
throughout the year.
Every year we have a birthday party for Marjorie in August. Every year we have an annual meeting which generally has a program about something relevant to Marjorie.
Right.
And then every year the park has a holiday party. The park also has programs, for example, cooking programs.
Going
There's
back.
a lot of enjoyment
Right.
from park staff and volunteers about cooking on the actual implements that Marjorie used.
And I love it. There's just so much we could talk about, and I'm looking forward. I want to thank you, Barbara. I want to thank Donna for such important information. I'm looking forward to the event, as is everyone, on Sunday, December 12th, and I look forward to being with everyone to see this movie and to hear the interview, and I thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Ilene.
Our pleasure. And I'm glad you tuned in, and I hope you will join us next week. Take care.